Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, hey, good Thursday morning to you. Welcome to the show. Ryan Nicholson, our producer today. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. We're brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group, including Thornhill Ford Lincoln on the Thornhill Motor Mile, US 119 at Chapmanville. Drive home today in a 2024 Ford Escape, 2.9% APR for up to 72 months and a $1,000 trade assist rebate. Must qualify for all offers through Ford Financial. See Thornhill for all the details. And we come to you from the Par-Mar Store studio. If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon phone calls to the show. Service of Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly on Spring Street. Texting services provided by West Virginia's finest men's store, Tony the Tailor, Virginia Street in Charleston. Visit BethMasterTailor.com. One step closer to the weekend. Band Brad, that's the new name. Band Brad McElhinny is going to join us a little bit later on another day. And stop me if you've heard this before, more about the governor's financial issues. We're going to talk to Band Brad about that coming up a little bit later on. Also, serious story, a homicide in Charleston last night, and Chris Lawrence is going to join us from the newsroom to talk about that a little bit later on. Plus, several other things I want to get into from the news as well. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Tailor, text 304-935-5008. Want to welcome into the show now Jason Huffman, Executive Director of Americans for Prosperity. Good morning. Welcome to the show, man.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me.
What'd you do with Crescent?
Yeah, give him the day off. He gets one every once in a while.
Crescent and I go back. He's a big Browns fan, and so we're not natural rivals to my Cowboys, but still, a lot of heartbreak goes with both those teams, I think.
Well, we'll try not to hold it against either of you.
Either one of us. So, before we get into the serious stuff here, I know you folks are incredibly busy and you're getting ready for the election coming up in November. But any downtime at all for Mr. Huffman? You got to do anything fun this summer?
Dave, every day's a vacation when you love your job, brother.
Perfectly said.
But we like to get around the state a little bit, get around town. Kind of a low key summer for us. Doing some renovations around the house, actually.
Okay.
So that's, you know how home ownership goes.
Yes, I do. Yeah. My wife's very handy with things like that. That's all I got to say about that. So you're still out knocking on doors for your group?
We are indeed. And I tell you what, Dave, it's really one of the most exciting times. And I've been doing politics and policy for over a decade at this point. And this is the most exciting time, I think, that we've had. Historically speaking, West Virginia has not had a first-term, day one Republican governor with a supermajority of Republicans in the legislature since before Prohibition.
Okay.
So let that sink in.
Let that sink in a little bit.
The opportunity that we have with what is likely going to be probably the election of Patrick Morrisey as the state's next governor is a opportunity to transform our state from a policy perspective. Patrick Morrisey often talks about wanting to have a backyard brawl with the states that we touch in terms of the laws we have on the books, how much they advance freedom and opportunity for every West Virginian, and to compete for those residents to get people to want to be a part of what we're doing here in West Virginia. And I think, what we're trying to do in Americans for Prosperity with our Pathway to Prosperity Agenda 2025 is to provide a sort of common sense policy roadmap for lawmakers that want to transform the state, that want to really capture that historic opportunity.
Talk about some of the things that are on that agenda. I know the last time Crescent was here, we got into a little bit, but when you're talking to legislators, whether they're people that are serving now or whether it's there's new people coming in, what are you telling them?
Well, first and foremost, I think we can't rest on our laurels, right? I mean, lawmakers have done a lot in terms of whether it's the historic largest tax cut in state history, whether it's being the first state to have a gold standard for educational freedom in the country that now 13 other states have adopted. There's been some quality steps forward in terms of advancing freedom and opportunity for people, but we've got to double down. With the landscape that we have right now, we've got to double down. And so what we're asking lawmakers to do is to be bold in a couple of key areas. One, when it comes to taxes and spending, we've got to keep lowering rates. We have to make government live within its means. When it comes to health care, we've got to repeal certificate of need laws so that we can have more affordable, reliable health care. The regulatory structure that we have in the state has really got to have a hard look taken at it because, quite frankly, we're not being competitive with a lot of our surrounding
But isn't it
states.
better now than what it used to be, in your opinion?
It certainly is, but hey, good, better, best. Never let it rest, right? I mean, that's where we're at, and so I think we're encouraging lawmakers to aim for much, much better.
Talking again with Jason Huffman, the Executive Director of Americans for Prosperity this morning. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Husson's Pizza. This month at your favorite Husson's, get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and an 8-inch chocolate chip cookie for only $23.99. You mentioned the upcoming election, and it's conventional wisdom, and anything can happen. That's why you have elections, like in sports. That's why you play the game. But most people think that Patrick Morrisey is going to be elected governor of West Virginia. And I know Steve Williams. Steve Williams has been on the show numerous times. I think Steve's a good guy. I really, really do. But most people think, especially with the bright red that is now West Virginia, that whomever the Republican is going to be governor. But you guys kind of came out early for Patrick Morrisey.
Yeah, we certainly did. I mean, it was a crowded primary field. There were several people on that ballot that, again, everybody in the race is a good guy, right?
Yeah.
But Patrick Morrisey just has such a clear vision for wanting to transform the state for the better. And I think that he, through his work as Attorney General, has demonstrated this kind of fervor for change and making sure that West Virginians are better off as a result of the work that he does every single day. And so we got into that race early and endorsed him for governor. And like you said, the political landscape in the state, red and getting redder, I think probably would be an understatement to some extent. You're going to have over 90 Republicans out of 100 in the House of Delegates. The state Senate, I think maybe we'll have 2 Democrats. So I think as far as Republican politics in the state goes, certainly a sea change from what we saw a little over 10 years ago when the state turned red. However, I would say that, not all Republicans are created equally in terms of their policy positions. And like I said, again, you want lawmakers. I think voters have demonstrated that they want lawmakers that don't tinker around the margins. They want bold transformational changes. Those are the folks that keep getting elected. And I hope lawmakers pay attention to that.
Now, you're technically a nonpartisan organization. I mean, you don't necessarily, you don't have a Republican, agenda, so to speak. But it just happens that a lot of your policies do fall in line with the basic core principles of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's the old Frederick Douglass quote where he said essentially, "We'll work with anybody to accomplish good."
Okay, and so I think it's interesting, and you're somebody that has followed this, for a long, long time. And that is this shift that we saw in West Virginia it started before Trump. I mean, it really did. It started in, 2014 is when it started, but it's actually you're starting to see seeds of that even before that. And as you said, it just keeps getting redder and redder and redder. And you never want to say never, but I don't know that it's going to change. I'm an old guy, older than you. I don't know that it's going to change during my lifetime.
Well, I mean, it certainly got a lot of runway. I think probably 20 or so years. But you're right. It did start back, I think, probably during the first Bush election for president. And then, obviously, I think the Obama era of politics in which the Democratic Party became much more radical and much more I would say, far left in terms of their policy leanings, particularly on the cultural side. I've talked to a lot of people at the doorstep that are former Democrats, Dave, that have switched either Republican or independent, that are just saying, listen, the party left me. I don't know what happened. This is not the party of JFK anymore. It's a party of a much more radical and progressive left. And people don't like that here. So they obviously have switched teams.
Got a couple texts. You ready to take on some text here?
Sure.
Text says, what is, in your experience in healthcare, what has been your experience, Jason, that led you to want certificate of need gone? And how do current small independent access hospitals feel about that? Wouldn't they be in jeopardy if a big health system is were to set up shop next to them?
Well, first of all, I think we could assuage some fears regarding repeal of certificate of need. And just so folks know, certificate of need allows unelected bureaucrats to decide whether you get a new hospital service or healthcare service or expanded healthcare service in your community. It's something that was set up in the 1970s. Essentially, the federal government mandated that all states put it in place. Many states have repealed it. We have not yet. And there's a reason that the Department of Justice, under both Republican and Democrat administrations, has said that states should repeal their certificate of need laws because it's anti-competition. It allows existing healthcare providers to veto, essentially, competition coming into the area. And we know, and while healthcare is not necessarily a full-on free market because of federal involvement in it, I would say that to some extent, competition, as we know, will drive down prices, increase quality, generally make things better. And I think that our healthcare practitioners and our communities know when their community needs something. So let's trust them and allow them to do their work.
A couple more texts before we let you go. AFP, Americans for Prosperity, name the agencies and number of government workers you want fired. Do you want somebody fired?
I don't necessarily think that's a pretty blunt question. But I mean, obviously, if there are pieces of the bureaucracy that are not functioning as they probably should, then yeah, maybe there will be some folks that are phased out of their employment. That's just the fact of the matter. But I will say that we haven't really had an opportunity to kick the tires on governance in this state to look at it from a practicality level and say, are we following best practices in terms of governments? Why are we operating in some form and fashion that we do now currently? So, hey, we get to be introspective for a while, and I think that's a good thing for taxpayers.
You guys don't really get into national politics that often. I mean, you study it and you look at it, but you're more concerned with West Virginia, with Senate races, governors, things of that nature, right?
I mean, I think obviously we do a lot of work at the federal level in terms of policy.
Well, the reason I ask is because somebody asked about an endorsement of Trump. That was a texter. Is that something that you want to get into? Because the actual text says, do you still pretend that they don't want you to vote for a sex abuser for president?
Well, actually, I would say that Americans for Prosperity Action endorsed Nikki Haley in the primary for president. And obviously, Donald J. Trump is the one that won the nomination. And so that's the guy who's running. We are focused at Americans for Prosperity Action on U.S. Senate races and making sure that principled leaders are in charge of that chamber.
Do you think that the governor's financial issues are going to hurt him in that race?
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think folks.
I agree with you because people don't seem to care.
No, I don't think they do. I mean, listen, he's a force. He is a force of nature in terms of his political popularity in the state, and so no, I don't think that's going to slow him down at all.
All right. Give us a lowdown again on your group, Americans for Prosperity. People want to learn more about it. What's the basic core principles behind it? Go ahead.
I would say go to wvpathway.com. You can take a look at our 2025 legislative agenda that we are going to thousands of doors across the state every week to talk to West Virginians about at their houses.
All right. Appreciate you being here, Jason. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for having me.
It is 9:20, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Jute for the best in security systems for both your home or business. Talk to Jute, J-O-O-T of Tays Valley. Visit protectedbyjute.com. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses have been creating jobs in West Virginia since 1997.
Welcome to Poca Valley, where we've been in business since 1908. Today, we serve Roane, Kanawha, Putnam, and surrounding counties. We believe you deserve banking that provides friendly customer service. For all of your financial needs, stop by one of our 8 convenient locations. Call us at 844-782-2651 or visit us online at PocaValleyBank.com. Poca Valley, where relationships matter.
Member FDIC.
The Husson's August Special. Get a largest large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and an 8-inch chocolate chip cookie for just $23.99. Visit your nearest Husson's for dine-in, pickup, or delivery. Order now at HussonsPizza.com.
Planning for retirement? Stike Wealth Enhancement Group is here to help. Whether you're preparing to retire, already retired, or seeking advice, our experts guide you every step of the way. Imagine leaving a legacy that supports your children or even the Children's Hospital. With careful planning, you can enjoy your retirement and make a lasting impact. At Stike Wealth Enhancement Group, we help you achieve your financial goals and create a legacy that matters. Start planning today. Visit StikeWEG.com. Secure your future. Leave a legacy.
Securities and advisory service offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hey everybody, it's Coop, and I'll be hanging out at Live on the Levee this Friday night with Amelia Deal and the Hot Mess, and headliners Golden. Great food and music all evening long in downtown Charleston with the voice of Charleston, 580 WCHS.
922, West Virginia Enriched, in collaboration with Huntington, invites you to witness the transformative power of Special Olympics. Take a few moments to be inspired and to join the collective effort in making a difference. Not just a story, it's a movement of hope, inclusivity, and triumph, reminding us all that every individual deserves a chance to shine in West Virginia and beyond. Huntington is truly making a difference right here at home. See a video highlighting the Special Olympics, Facebook.com/580WCHS. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Vitaler text 304-935-5008. Text says, Dave, I'm writing in Jason Huffman for governor, says a texter. Well, he's listening. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. Was a plan for affordable health care, says Texter. Trump tried to eliminate it. Thankfully, he failed like he does at almost everything he touches. So the majority, says a Texter, of West Virginia is going to vote for an adulterous child molester for president, a fraud businessman who doesn't pay taxes or vendors as a senator, and a carpetbagger opioid lobbyist for governor. I'm embarrassed to be a citizen of West Virginia, says a Texter. Let's welcome in Brad McElhinny now. Brad, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Dave. Hi.
Hey, that was a nice description there, wasn't it? I mean, an adulterous child molester, fraud businessman who doesn't pay taxes or vendor, as a senator, and carpetbagger opioid lobbyist for governor. That's pretty intense, man.
When you put it that way, I guess you're not going to see any billboards that say that.
I don't. Well, not by the candidates, maybe by their opposition. So before we go any further, Brad, I got to address the proverbial elephant in the proverbial room. Do you want to address what has happened now between you and the governor? I mean, what's up with this man?
Well, how should I address it?
There's not a whole lot for you to address, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really silence on the governor's end, so that's what makes it a little bit hard. That they don't really anymore chew me out or state any, there's no pushback. It's just silence. So to catch listeners up, I guess 5 weeks ago now, I asked a question during the governor's briefing about a federal case, a judge in Delaware who put in an order moving a significant portion of Governor Justice's family coal businesses toward a forced sale. This is Bluestone Mineral, a holding company for other businesses, and it's meant to satisfy debt by at least one entity, but the repercussion is that others who the justices owe could get in line and stake a claim to whatever comes from the liquidation potentially of that business. I thought it was a fair question. I really wanted to hear the governor's take on it. I thought, asking him was actually the fair thing to do, but he got upset, described it as a hit piece. I will, when he describes it that way, I will remind you and the listeners, I did not make the federal judge in Delaware move toward putting these justice companies up for liquidation. That was not something I actually had control over. The next time there was a briefing, I asked about justice properties in Raleigh County, Monroe County, and McDowell County being put up for sale because of unpaid taxes. Again, I had no influence over the local tax authorities, and you don't get your property put up in a tax sale right away. A lot of time goes by. You get a lot of warnings. And those property taxes go for things that Justice says he supports, like local schools. I asked him about that, and looking back, I guess that was the last straw, because he said to me that day, Brad, I don't even know why we take your questions, and then said that he didn't know anything about those tax issues. The next 3 times there was a briefing, I put in, so what the process is that the governor's office sends out notification that they're even having a briefing. And then you, the reporter, RSVP and say, I want to do it. So I had other questions, most recently about PEIA, more government-focused questions. And I've the past 3 briefings not gotten any kind of response. When I talk about this, I don't mean to be whining. It's not just about me, but the governor, I take it, has decided that some questions are off limits, and therefore some reporters, me, will not be allowed to participate. To me, that diminishes the value of the briefing overall, and he can respond and does respond any way he wants. But it's not up to him, to my mind, what the subject matter of the questions is. Furthermore, we've learned in recent weeks that, to me, those were serious enough. I mean, a judge saying your business, your coal properties are going to be auctioned off, or your tracts of land in 3 counties in West Virginia with county officials saying you're going to be auctioned off. I thought those were serious. The announcement of foreclosure of the Greenbrier and being put up at tax auction, well, not tax auction, but being put up at auction on the county courthouse steps. I mean, that's a whole other level, and it just strains credulity for the governor to say, oh, these questions about my finances, they are fake news. Everything turns out all right in the end. I mean, to be told that, and then the next week the Greenbrier is being foreclosed upon, I mean, it just hammers home that it's a silly position to take.
Talking to Brad McElhinny, and on, I think it was Monday's show, Brad, I talked a little bit about the op-ed piece that Phil Kabler did in the Gazette-Mail on Saturday, and I, to be honest, I rarely ever agree with a lot of what Phil Kabler says. Don't know the guy, but I just, we have a difference of opinion on a lot of things. However, he brought up the fact that, or brought up the question, what if the press opted to just not cover the conferences, just boycott them? I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but what would you say to that?
I think we have a professional obligation to ask the governor questions. A couple of briefings ago, when I was sitting it out, the governor did not address, during his opening remarks, the resignation of Mark Scott, the administration secretary, who was over during his tenure a variety of state contractual matters, but during the last few months of his tenure had a second job leading a political action committee and raising funds for that political committee. Mm-hmm. The governor didn't address that at all, and instead talked about a splash pad that had recently been installed. All right, good for the splash pad. My fellow reporters asked the governor, when it was their chance, 3 or 4 questions about the conflict of interest and how the administration dealt with Mark Scott, and none of that would have been illuminated if they had not asked. So, I think that there is still benefit of at least posing the questions to him, and then, it's a limited forum. He can answer how he wants. Sometimes it's a rant. Sometimes it bounces off in some other direction. Sometimes he will belittle the reporter and the question, but at least you've asked. At least you've gotten it out there. And otherwise, he's just going to do briefings and talk about splash pads.
We all like splash pads, though, Brad, right?
We do. The final thing I will say is that reporters are cats, and I mean, maybe some of us would opt out of participating, but although people think of reporters as operating in a pack, sometimes that does take place with hot news stories. There really is no collusion among us, and I mean, I have no expectation that I'm going to influence TV reporters from North Central West Virginia. I just don't think that organizing some sort of group boycott is truly realistic, given the independent nature of our profession.
There's not a union. That's what you're saying. There's no union of reporters all gathering together, right?
There are no Justice League meetings of reporters, no.
But here's the thing, and I'll get away from the press aspect of it for a moment. I mean, and Jason Huffman of Americans for Prosperity and I talked about it. A lot of these financial issues with the governor, though, Brad, it doesn't seem that the public cares. I mean, the guy is just so popular, and that's fine. I mean, but it's like that they don't. I mean, to Hoppy's show yesterday, somebody texted and referred to. I think he was actually addressing Hoppy directly by telling him he had justice derangement syndrome, which that's a new one. I've heard of TDS. I've never heard of JDS, but the public doesn't seem to care.
Yeah, I mean, we have no control over public perception.
Right.
We are in a very partisan era of society, and so it sometimes feels like people just put on their jerseys and don't necessarily give any mind to the actions or the details. I will say that I think that there is, if not public interest, a public interest. So when I say that the justice companies are having their land sold off because they have not paid their property taxes in Raleigh, McDowell, and Monroe County, that affects the citizens there. That's the local schools, the local fire departments, the things that the governor says that he backs and appreciates and wants to support. The Greenbrier is way behind on its sales taxes. Any other merchant, Toby and Edith, would have to remit those sales taxes to the state. The Greenbrier is behind by $3 million. Has had the state tax department, which is in the Justice Administration, put liens on the Greenbrier over those unpaid sales taxes. It is both a tax obligation that could go to pay for things that the governor says he supports in state government, as well as, potentially a conflict between the ownership of the Greenbrier and the management of the state tax department. So again, all we can do is report and put it out there for people to interpret how they may, but if people are interested or not, that's only one factor in the reporting.
Right, exactly. Before we let you go, what are you actually reporting on other than the governor today? What's on your radar today, Brad?
News hit a wall yesterday. Jeff Jenkins is going down here in the next hour to cover a couple of former corrections officers who are accused in the death of Quantez Burks in the Southern Regional Jail, a beating death where up to 8 corrections officers at that jail face charges. This will be 2 of 4 of those who now have pleaded guilty. So that's a significant news story today. We have our ears to the ground about what is going to happen with the Greenbrier. When I talk about it, it's a little bit in financial and political terms, but certainly the employees and the residents of that area who depend on the Greenbrier for its economic benefits are quite worried about what's going to happen. And I don't know. It very well may go to auction as intended on August 27th, but a better solution where there would be more control over what happens might be to sell it before that, to agree to terms with an entity where you've got a little more command over the sale price and the nature of that entity. So our ears are to the ground about that, but I am certainly not telling you that there's any kind of impending news. It's just an ongoing news interest in what is going on with the Greenbrier.
All right. Hashtag free Brad. You like it? Free Brad?
No. The pressure is off me if I don't have to participate in these briefings. They are terrible. They are always late, sometimes up to an hour. The governor's version of news is usually about taxes, trout, or tourism, very light stuff, and he will typically not really answer the questions posed to him. So please don't put me back in those briefings.
Okay. All right. Be careful what you wish for. All right, Brad, I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dave. 23
minutes away from 10, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Pinnacle Consultants. Their lead paint inspection and risk assessment services are designed to identify and to assess the presence of lead-based paint in buildings and other structures using a 3-phase approach of inspection, sampling, and lab analysis, and an assessment report. Visit pinnaclecorp.net because what you don't know can hurt you. Text says, Jim Justice is a faux tough guy who's really a crybaby. Every time he gets a tough question, he runs to a safe space and hides behind Brian Abraham. If he wasn't good at pretending to be a good old boy, he'd be toast as governor. So many people hate him. Well, I'm not going to agree with that last statement that so many people hate him. He's one of the 4 or 5 most popular governors in America. I mean, you can say that, it's easy to say, but let me tell you, look at the numbers. Before we go to break, speaking of numbers, I do want to mention this. I have the TV on here in the studio, catching Partridge Family reruns or something while I'm supposed to be concentrating. But a new poll just came out, just flashed across the screen here. This is from the Marquette Law School, and Kamala Harris is in the lead. This is, again, just one poll. According to Marquette Law School, Kamala Harris, 53, Donald Trump, 47. That is according to the Marquette Law. I'll look at it. It just came out. I'll look at it a little bit further, maybe have another report on it. But according to the Marquette Law School poll, and I don't know exactly who they polled and where they polled and whatever, 53 to 47. That has Kamala Harris in the lead over Donald Trump, according to that recent poll. Text says, this behavior toward the press by Jim Justice is embarrassing for his image. Makes it clear that he and his team are thin-skinned and can't match wits with the media and are immature amateurs, but happen to have gotten lucky to have a really cute dog that has made him artificially popular. Says, we're not going to hate on baby dog now. Text says, going back to the Jason Huffman interview, Huffman has no idea how the real world works. We're going to take a break, and I got some other things of the news I want to get to, including a tragic story of a homicide in Charleston. Chris Lawrence is going to join us to talk about that. But your calls and texts are welcome to Bigly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses are small businesses with big impact, including Generations Physical Therapy and Snap Fitness.
According to USA Today, 1 in 7 children in West Virginia face food insecurity issues. Hi, I'm Jason Quintrell, President and CEO of Union Mission Ministries. There are some obstacles our children face with access to food despite many feeding programs available. That is why Union Mission has partnered with some local middle schools to place food directly into the hands of children who need it. Help us remove those obstacles and help feed our kids. Visit unionmission.com to learn more.
Red, white, and vroom! Gear up for incredible savings at Thornhill Ford Lincoln on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Hey, it's Sydney, and right now at Thornhill, you can drive home a new 2024 Ford Escape with 2.9% APR for up to 72 months, plus a $1,000 trade assist rebate. Shop online anytime at thornhillford.net or visit us on US 119 in Chapmanville. Discover why Thornhill Ford Lincoln is your...
Come and save $200 per kit. Includes fast and free shipping. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
18 minutes away from 10, the Dave Allen Show and 580 Live, brought to you in part by Brightway Insurance, a Mays agency. They now offer small business insurance to the 4 major carriers, the Hartford, Travelers, Progressive, and Next. Call or stop by and see John and Sherry Mays today, 3860 Tays Valley Road, Suite 1 in Hurricane, 304-814-2509 to visit brightwaymays.com. Chris Lawrence joins us from the newsroom. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing fine. For the second day, I guess, in a row, we were reporting about a shooting in Charleston.
Yeah, these are unrelated, but they were about the same, about 24 hours apart, actually, in the city. This one this morning occurred around 2:45 or so, and it was on Grace Avenue at a home there. A fellow by the name of Krishawn Perkins, age 32, and his girlfriend had been invited to a home on Grace Avenue. They went there for the night, but at some point during the night, things started to get ugly. According to the police report, Perkins had started threatening his girlfriend. They got into several arguments and fights. He had at times picked up a gun, pointed at her, threatening to shoot her. The argument got heated, and at some point, it got to the point that he pointed it at her, and then the guest there, the host of that had invited him, he got involved, and he and Perkins started fighting. Perkins put down the gun. The girlfriend then apparently picked up the gun, shot him, and it was a fatal. It fatally shot him. Perkins is now dead, and authorities are still investigating. Charleston police say that the girlfriend was taken to the hospital for treatment of multiple injuries that she had received in the altercation. She remains in stable condition, and this time no charges have been filed, but they are going to pass the investigation over and all the evidence to the prosecutor's office to determine if any charges are to be filed in this incident. So a very tragic situation there on Grace Avenue this morning as what started as verbal altercations and threats turned into a shooting death. And it could very well be that they're going for self-defense in this. Possibly, I know we're not going to play lawyers, but possibly. A lot of times when you hear the police say that they have not filed charges, they're going to pass it over to the prosecutor to review. They sort of leave that to the discretion of the prosecutor that there might be a question about that. And that's usually what that indicates. So, and it will be at the purview of the prosecutor as to whether anyone should face charges.
Tragic story either way, Chris. I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot. Man. You can check out the story again. It's posted at WVMetroNews.com. 16 minutes away from 10. Bigley Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Vitaylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show and 580 Live brought to you in part by Bridge Valley. If you're interested in improving your company's IT workforce, please know Bridge Valley offers custom tailored IT training to bridge the skills gap. At Bridge Valley, train for little or no cost. 50-50 salary match available. They can also supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu/apprenticeships today. Hobby Kercheval coming up at 10:06 with Metro News Talk Line. Senate Finance Chair Eric Tarr on the show today. Former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones on with Mr. Kercheval to talk about the 50th anniversary of Watergate. Also, as you heard Brad allude to, Jeff Jenkins is going to be stopping by to talk about the plea hearing today for those 2 former guards at the Southern Regional Jail in Beckley and the beating death of an inmate there. As I mentioned with Brad, fresh off his appearance here, Banned Brad, he said I can't use the hashtag anymore. We'll be on with Hoppy today, plus Jonathan Savage and Ryan Schmelz of Fox News Radio. More on the rains from Tropical Storm Debbie. Doesn't look like it's going to impact us much, but it does look like it's going to impact areas maybe like Pocahontas County and moving eastward. So we got meteorologists on with Hoppy to talk about that. Plus, the community of Pinch is in the spotlight as they get ready to prepare for their 123rd Pinch reunion. So loaded up show with Hobby coming up at 10:06 this morning from the Encova Insurance Studios in the Dale Miller building in Morgantown. We are now less than 1 week away from the Salango Law backpack attack here in our parking lot, 1111 Virginia Street East in Charleston. Lineup starts at 3 o'clock with the giveaway beginning at 4. Children, listen to me now. Kids must be present to get the backpack. None of this, I got a kid at home stuff. No, that's Woody's rules. Woody Woods makes the rules of this thing, and he's been doing it for, a number of years. I think 17, is that right? Yes, 17. He's been doing this. So, again, It's all next Wednesday. Lineup's going to start about 3 on our parking lot here, 1111 Virginia Street East in Charleston. We'll start handing out the backpacks at 4 o'clock. Woody Woods, the man in charge of all this, does a great job with it from 107.3 The Beat, and it was 17 years ago that he started getting this thing up and rolling. And thanks to all of our sponsors who make it happen. Now I've got a complete list of all those on my social media sites. Coming up on this show tomorrow, Hannah Gardner from the Kanawha Charles Humane Association with this week's Adopt Me Please Pet of the Week. Plus, tomorrow is the final Live on the Levee of the season. Ended up a little bit earlier than normal. Jim Strong will be on to talk about that. Saturday night, it is Girls Night Out. You heard Marilee McAuliffe of Channel 13 talking about it yesterday. Sandy Call, one of the organizers, is going to join us to talk about that on the show tomorrow. And my good friend Sonny Anderson is going to be stopping by as West Virginia State's got a golf tournament coming up to do some things on around their campus. And Sonny Anderson is going to join us to talk about that on tomorrow's show. Text says West Virginians left the Democrat Party because Democrats put the people of color, women, and LGBT, well, there's no Q in this one, LGBT people, on equal footing as white males. Former West Virginia Democrats are upset because historically the Democrat Party was home for their bigoted views, but now they've found a home in the Republican Party, says a texter. One other note about Live on the Levee. This just happened to occur to me that I think our stations are going to be down there tomorrow night. I know I did hear a little promo that Dale Cooper is going to be live on the Levee. He'll be live at Live on the Levee coming up tomorrow night. It is 12 minutes away from 10. Begley, Piggly, Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show and 580 Live brought to you in part by Live Healthy West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Live Healthy, tackling pressing health issues, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, RSV, and more. It's a podcast offering insights into medical breakthroughs and preventative care, featuring WVU Medicine's expert physicians aimed at fostering healthier lifestyles in and beyond the state. It's a valuable resource for all. Check out the latest episodes on WVMetronews.com under the podcast menu and start your journey towards better health today. We'll take a break. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
And looking for an opportunity in orthopedics, wellness, and athletic care? If so, Generations Physical Therapy is offering flexible work hours and an upbeat atmosphere. With 7 convenient locations, Generations may have a job designed for you. Visit generationspt.com.
Hey, it's Dave Allen for Parmar Stores. And now that the warm weather months are here, you know where you need to be. Your local Parmar store. Heading to the lake, the ball field, or your favorite picnic site, or just working around your place, Parmar has everything you'll need. From gas to grocery, snacks, and much, much more. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Parents of high school juniors and seniors, discover the Wynn Academy at Bridge Valley Community and Technical College. This unique charter school offers an accelerated program for students passionate about nursing or advanced manufacturing. Students can start college courses in their junior year, graduating high school with their first year of college completed, all for free. With hands-on experience and personalized attention, students are just 1 year away.
Wow, it feels like summer just started, but time sure is flying by, and before you know it, school will be back in session. This school year, Members Choice West Virginia can help you check off everything on your school shopping list with a back-to-school loan. Now through August 31st, you can get all the school supplies you need with a back-to-school loan of up to $1,500 with rates as low as 7.99% and up to 12 months to pay back. Apply today at 201 Ohio Avenue in Charleston or visit MCWV online at memberschoicewv.com. Loans are subject to credit approval. Additional restrictions may apply.
230-2777, 800-230-2777, or biglou.com.
9 minutes away from 10. Ryan Nicholson, our producer today. Headline here on the old television set here in the studio says that Donald Trump's going to hold a general news conference today from Mar-a-Lago at 2 o'clock as Republicans slam Kamala Harris, for not taking questions. So Trump is going to be doing a news conference from Mar-a-Lago today at 2 o'clock. Indeed. The Dave Allen Show and 580 Live is brought to you in part by Morgan & Morgan. With more than $20 billion recovered, they believe that when you're injured, you deserve more. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Text says, where's Kenny Bass been hiding out while Big Jim is stiffing banks and employees and small businesses not paying insurance premiums for retired workers? Kenny, get a backbone. Well, I can't speak for Kenny Bass. I don't know, but I mean, Kenny does a great job with what he does, so I'm sure he's always got his eye on something related to that. So there you go. Kenny, if you're listening, you have a challenge today. Somebody wants you to look into it. Although I don't know what more could be uncovered with the Justice financial situation. And again, it all goes back to the fact of, and it's not, as Brad, I think, wisely pointed out, it is the job of the media to put it out there, but it's not our job to tell people what you should think about it. And the majority of the people in West Virginia simply don't care. So the media does the job of putting it out there, whether it's Brad or whether it's Stephen Allen Adams or anybody, any of the fine news media we have in the state. They put it out there, but if the public doesn't care, then that's on them, and it's not the media's job to tell them they should care. You put it out here, you do with it what you want. I want to do a little follow-up from yesterday's show. I had on Rob Cunningham, who's the president of the Putnam County Board of Education, and we were talking about, among other things, the growth of Putnam County and the influx of students coming into the school system. And we had a text to the show after Mr. Cunningham had left, and the texter asked a question about, and I had the text pulled up here. I'll see if I can actually, okay, here, this is the actual text. The text said, ask Cunningham how they've adjusted staffing on the northern side of the river due to the enrollment drops. Fact, says the texter, Putnam County has lost over 800 students in the last 10 years. And Mr. Cunningham had already left, but he obviously was listening because I got a text. I got a text to the show with some facts and figures. He texted me and said, I'm going to have you some figures later in the day. And he did. He got him last night, as a matter of fact. So I thought I would just kind of follow up on this. Now, the proposed levy, if approved by voters in Putnam County, would do a number of things to facilities around the county. With one of those being the construction of a new middle school for Hurricane. That school got some age on it, definitely. President Cunningham provided me, through the Putnam County Board of Education, with the enrollment for Hurricane Middle School, going back to the 2008-2009 school year all the way to this year. Now, the peak year for enrollment for this particular school, 2017 to 2018, that was the school year that they had the most students, with 1,013. This year, they sat at 838. So the texter is right. And, of course, now the texter was referring, I think, to the northern side of the river, but we'll talk about the entire county. The numbers have gone down as far as enrollment goes. But so is every public school. Because here's the bottom line. Parents, for one reason or another, are simply not sending their kids to public schools as much as they used to all over West Virginia. I mean, old guy speaking here, back, when I was a kid, you went to public school, or there was like one other Christian school in the county where I grew up, and that was it. But now there are so many more options. And COVID, I think, really, really laid a lot of options out on the line, and some parents found that they want to go a different direction, be that a virtual academies, charter schools, private schools, homeschooling. There's just a lot of options out there. And it is also worth noting, though, that the population of Putnam County is expected to grow a lot. It already is with Nucor in the next county over in Mason County. It's already started, as I said, and there's a proposed Amazon facility in Fraser's Bottom. So there's going to be a lot more people, I think, moving in there. But I do appreciate the numbers from President Cunningham and Mr. Hudson and the folks with the Putnam County BOE, and also to the texter for bringing it up. I definitely appreciate it. The Dave Allen Show and 580 Live, presented by General Hardware of Winfield and Milton, General Lumber of Winfield. All projects, big and small, use them. Shop locally. Visit generalhardwarewv.com. Text says, Dave, Donald Trump has been shot out more times than Tim Walz, the vice president nominee, has. Before he cut and run for the National Guard, he was about to be deployed. He should be called Tim A. Walz, says a texter. This is something that, as we close the show this morning, something I've talked about in the past, and it's back in the news again. And that is the banning of cell phones, or at least limiting their usage in public schools. Chesapeake, Ohio, got a good radio buddy of mine who lives in that area, not far from here, of course. And in that particular area, Chesapeake, Ohio, they are limiting the use of cell phones in the public schools. Marcia Kovalik has a story posted this morning, WVMetroNews.com, that now Berkeley County schools are rolling out a plan that would greatly limit cell phone usage. Now, under the plans there, this is Berkeley County we're talking about, the use of smartphones and cell phones of all types, smartwatches, earbuds, AirPods, and Bluetooth headphones will be prohibited during class time. Not overall, just during class time. Now, for kids in grades 6 through 12, students can bring the devices to school, but they have to be placed on silent or turned off during actual instructional time. They would be allowed to use them in the mornings before classes start, during lunch, and after school. The fact that we even have to have this discussion baffles my mind. But again, old guy without kids here. So, do I have the right to say anything? For kids in pre-K to 5th grade, the phones pretty much can't be visible. Now, I'm not sure why a 5th grader needs a phone to begin with, but again, old guy, no kids. So, but this is in Berkeley County. Some school systems in other areas have put in place systems where kids turn in their phones when classes start. They have locked bags, and they hand over the phones as soon as the class begins. Like if they still do a tardy bell, I don't know. They hand the phones over to the teacher. They're put in a locked bag. Text says, why would a pre-K student have a phone? Good point. Why would any kid have a phone? But that's just me. But they put the phones in the locked bags, and so I'm going to get into this a little bit later because I want to get your side of what you think of all this. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. All right, we got to go. Hoppy Kurtzville coming up with Talk Line 1006. Lots of guests on the show today, and your calls and texts are always welcome. On this show tomorrow, Hannah Gardner from the Kanawha Charleston Humane Association, Jim Strawn on the final Live of the Levee of the season, Sandy Call talking about Girls Night Out, and Sonny Anderson on a big golf tournament going on to benefit West Virginia State. Download the all-new WV Metro News apps, the Metro News TV apps, and the WVRC Media app as well. Enjoy all our stations statewide. Ryan Nicholson was our producer. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM 96.5 FM Charleston, 104.5 Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here too.